But how cool is that when you look at these little different things that I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about communication, showing up on time, encouraging your team, setting up a schedule, learning how to do the job correctly, experiencing reward, all the different things that were learned in this time apply today. Apply many, many, many years later and apply in different capacities. Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez. And let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about things that matter. And one of the things I'm passionate about is talking about leadership, personal development, personal growth. I want to encourage you as a leader because I believe that all of you are leaders, regardless of whether you're young, old, starting out, seasoned leader. We all have opportunities to lead all the time. And maybe we're in different seasons, but we're definitely leading in one capacity or another. And so I feel called to bring thoughts and ideas and conversations and guests that are going to challenge us, encourage us, and more importantly, make us better as leaders, because the world needs better leaders, and we need to be able to lead in a capacity where we become a positive force and an encouragement to those around us. And so I appreciate you joining me. I really do. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And I also want to ask you for a small little favor. If you know somebody that needs to hear this, if you know somebody that you think could really benefit from hearing this, can you pass it on? Can you join the conversation and comment and like, and let's become better leaders together, and let's one step at a time make the world a better place, and let's make a good impact. And so on that note, I wanted to share a thought that I had, because I often think about, hey, when did I really get engaged with leadership? Like, how old was I? Like, what was that one spark? What was that one idea, or even what was that one thing that I did that said, hey, you need to pursue leadership and you need to work on it and become a better leader? And I've been thinking about that, guys, and I've been thinking, and I realized that it was grade 5. Specifically, grade 5 really kind of sticks out to me as being one of those years that really shaped me as a leader, and potentially just sparked and ignited my love for leadership. And now that's a long time ago. And so maybe you're thinking, man, what can I learn from a grade 5er? I'll tell you, and I want to walk you through this, but the lessons that I learned, the principles that I learned as a grade 5er set me up to not only enjoy this journey, but I'm realizing that these principles don't change, and they apply to the entrepreneur. They apply to the high-level leader that's leading a big organization or a company, whether you're a parent or whatever. These leadership principles actually apply because they're timeless. And that's why I'm passionate about talking about this, because there's nothing really new to it, but we just actually need to apply it. And that's why sometimes it's important for us to hear it over and over and learn from it and tweak it and pivot, all that kind of stuff, because it's us that need to learn how to, adjust and apply this stuff. And it's not necessarily that the principle is wrong, or that it works or it doesn't work. The principle works. The leadership lessons do apply. And so this is what happened to me in grade 5. And many of you might be familiar with this. And if you're not, there used to be this thing called patrolling, traffic patrols. And they technically still exist, but I actually come to my knowledge that as of COVID, they kind of discontinued the program, and teachers are stepping into it. And maybe selective schools are still doing it potentially, but it was this idea of where students had the opportunity to go stand in a corner and direct traffic so people, pedestrians, students, parents could cross. a busy street safely. Now, in my school, in my elementary school, you had to be at least in grade 5 to be able to actually be considered and engaged in that position. And it was grade 5 and 6s, and the grade 6ers had the opportunity to train the grade 5s. The grade 6ers had a captain and a co-captain that kind of led the whole thing, which I will get to in just a moment and explain a little bit more about that. But in grade 5, when you were in grade 4 and grade 3, potentially, you would be looking towards these grade 5ers saying, oh man, I can't wait to do that. There was just something attractive about not only serving, but helping, directing, carrying a stop sign, being able to have some control, being able to save lives in another way of putting it, because that's exactly what we were doing in grade 5 and 6. We were saving lives and we were preventing accidents and we were helping students get to school or get home safely. And so there was just something beautiful about that. And so I remember entering grade 5 going like, I want to do this. Like, this is something that I want to experience. And not everybody did it. And I don't remember fully the process that we had to go through, but I know that the teachers and that made the decision, like they wanted you to be trustworthy. They wanted to make sure that you were going to be accountable and that you were going to follow instructions and you were not going to fool around, because it wasn't a game. This was actual serious business. And like I said, we were saving lives. We were helping people cross the street safely. And as you know, vehicles and drivers can be crazy sometimes. And we needed that help. And especially in our school, we had a corner of our school that had not only busy traffic, but it was also very busy for pedestrians to walk across. So that's where we put the patrollers. So I'll tell you what, this is what I've learned beyond, as I think about that and beyond that, and how I've applied all these leadership lessons. I learned that I had to be committed, right? I had to show up on time. You had to show up on time because there's a specific time that you wanted to cross, help people cross, and that's when it was the busiest time. So you needed to be accountable. Like, you needed to show that, hey, if I said I'm going to be there and I'm scheduled to be on that street walk, I'm going to be there. So early on, these principles got instilled that, hey, when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And then you're going to do it, and you're going to do it well, and you're going to do it on time. I learned very quickly that you how to take responsibility, that having a stop sign gave you power. Having a stop sign gave you control, but you had to use it responsibly. And so you weren't going to fool around. You weren't going to pretend to stop cars. You weren't going to, just wail your sign around, because accidents could happen. You learn that when people were crossing the street, when people were crossing this crosswalk, it was a safety concern and it was a safety issue. You wanted to get them across so that they could get to school or they could get home. And so it was a big deal. We got instilled in us that this was no game time. We were not fooling around, and we were doing a very important job. I also remember I got to learn the importance of working with somebody else. I had a partner. It was always done in twos, with a one person crossed the street and the other one stayed on this side, and we had to learn how to communicate. You've heard that before in leadership. I had to learn how to communicate, because if both of us were not in sync, if both of us were not in agreement, we weren't going to stick out our stop sign. We weren't going to let the pedestrians walk. We were supposed to be in tune and in sync, and made sure that we had eye contact, we were understanding each other, that we were communicating. And so that was a beautiful part for me of learning teamwork. Sometimes in teams, we think about big groups, but it's always more than one. And two people make a team. And so we were able to learn how to do that. And so early on, learning how to communicate was a big deal. There was something really cool, too, about when you got to patrol, is that when you went back to school, when the bell rang, that was your sign to go inside. And so you were allowed to show up late to class because you were on patrol. And there was this benefit in winter or in summer. In summer, if you were on patrol and it was a hot day, you could go into the kitchen and you can grab yourself some juice, or you can grab yourself a freezy, and it was just one of those things that was a benefit. In winter, you were allowed to grab a hot chocolate, and it was just kind of cool because you would walk into your class late on purpose, and you were allowed to, and you were balling. You felt like a big deal because I got a hot chocolate and nobody else does. I have a freebie, nobody else does. I'm showing up late to class, but I'm allowed to. I'm not in trouble because I was doing something important, right? And so it showed me too that in leadership there's benefits. There is actually rewards. And when you do a good job in something, you're going to get rewarded. And is it always going to work out like that? No, but there is something to catch here, that as human beings, there is something about being motivated to do something when there is an outcome, when there is a reward, when there's something that we're reaching for. And so it was awesome to be able to experience that because it made you feel appreciated. You heard of that before, the importance of appreciating the people that you lead or the people that you work with? I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you wish you were appreciated a little bit more by somebody that was in charge, right? And so that to me showed me very quickly that it not only was it important to be appreciated or to show appreciation, but I got to experience it, how it made me feel when I was appreciated. And so to be able to go through that, it was just very cool. Now, in grade 5, there was a routine. Like I said, there was a schedule. That's how we worked through that. At the end of grade 5, though, you were given the opportunity to go to a camp. You were able to show interest to the school and saying, I actually would like to go to this camp because in this camp, they're going to train you how to be even a better leader and a better person at patrolling and being a better teammate. But you also had the opportunity, depending on how many people went, you had the opportunity to become the captain of the patrol team or the co-captain. And let me tell you, I had the opportunity to go and I definitely took advantage of it, but it was serious business. It was a 3-day camp, if I remember correctly. We had fun. We played games. It was a bunch of students from other elementary schools, 3 days during the summer. And we had to make a pledge. We had to make a pledge that we were going to protect, that we were going to be safe, that we were going to help students. And it was a very cool thing. And we also had to do a test. We had to do a written exam about how we understood traffic and the safety of all that. And we had to do a verbal test as well. If we remember the different things, there was a sequence of events that we had to do. When we put the sign out, well, how we put the arm to hold people back, how to communicate, all that stuff. And so I'm here to tell you that I passed. I passed, and I was actually the only grade fiver in my year that went from my school. So when I passed, I automatically became a captain. And then I got to go back to school in grade 6, and I had the opportunity to choose somebody to be my co-captain. So just in case I wasn't around, it was a very cool thing. Part of my responsibilities now as a grade 6 patrol captain was to make schedules, to be able to lead my team, to make sure that we always had somebody in those corners in the morning, at lunch, and if I remember correctly, after school too. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. There was a multiple events that took place on a day that needed patrolling. And so it's interesting. Some of you are probably rolling your eyes or thinking like, holy man, you're getting excited about pretty much nothing. You got to think about it from a grade 5er perspective, from a grade 6er perspective. When you're being given responsibility to be a big shot in the school and you're really helping people, you're adding value, you're helping them be safe. You've been acknowledged by the teachers. You've been acknowledged by this camp that's saying, hey, you have the capability and the ability to lead others, even though it wasn't fully comprehended at the time. I don't know if I fully understand the implications and what this was going to do for me in my life, but it definitely impacted me and it impacted others, because to be a patrol captain, to be a patroller, you had to care. You had to be a team player. You had to acknowledge others. You know, there was team players that wanted to say, hey, can I be a partner with this person? Or can I do it on this day? And you had to problem solve. And this was done in the most basic way because you had still a teacher that overlooked this and guided you and made sure that you were doing your job correctly, that you were doing it in a timely manner. You did the schedule, a month at a time, all that kind of stuff. But how cool is that when you look at these little different things that I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about communication, showing up on time, encouraging your team, setting up a schedule, learning how to do the job correctly, experience and reward, all the different things that were learned in this time apply today. Apply many, many, many years later and apply in different capacities. When was the last time that you realized that these simple leadership principles of being dedicated to your team, communicating correctly, showing up on time, being a positive leader, learning to do your job well, being on the receiving end and on the giving end of showing appreciation, like all those things make us better, and they don't change. They've never changed. Whether you're a grade fiver or whether you're a 40, 50, 60, whatever year old working in whatever type of organization, all those things apply. And so sometimes we forget that the most simplest principles, the most simplest acts, the most simplest details in leadership are the ones that make the biggest difference and that matter. Stop complicating. I remember that acronym. What is it? KISS, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, silly. Whatever you want to say. Yeah, I said it. We just have to keep it simple. We just have to realize that actually you already know what to do, but what keeps us from actually activating is just the idea of knowing that it can make a difference and just putting it into action. Just go do what you know is right. Take the responsibility. I think that's the biggest word that I take out of the grade 5-6 scenario that I just gave you, is that I was given the responsibility. I was empowered. I was encouraged. I was believed in. And then I was given instructions and I was taught how to do my job. And it was a volunteer position, by the way. I wasn't getting paid in grade 5 or 6 to do this at school. It was an honor. It was a privilege for me to do that because it actually made a difference. And you visually saw that. You knew you were helping people. You knew you were working with people. When I became the leader, the captain in grade 6, I got to help others make a difference alongside with me. It was significant enough because I was actually growing as a leader, and I learned a lot of things, whether I understood that or not at the time. I do see it now because those were the seeds that were planted that made me the leader that I am today. So why do I share all of that? Well, first of all, maybe you need to reflect on when you first really kind of started out as a leader and make note on the things that you learned, the young leader in you learned at that time. The other thing is, it's never too early to start. There might be young individuals, young people, children in your life that you can be imparting wisdom and encouragement so that they can start then. It's not about age. It's about the comprehending of how to add value in being a leader. So you could do that as early. I mean, I had one of my boys on this podcast, and we've talked about leadership for a long time. You can start them young and allow that to grow into who knows how God's going to grow that and impact the world through them. The other thing is that these leadership lessons make a difference and they can impact the world in the most simplest ways. Like, you just have to put that into practice, and it doesn't have to get crazy. It doesn't have to get so complicated. So take this and realize that the simple lessons actually can apply in the most complex, complicated scenario that you can think of today. And if you can master the simples, then you will learn to grow and to continue to learn. And this goes to show you, I've been learning since I was a kid. Grade 5 really made a difference for me because it's where I really probably made my stance in saying that this leadership thing is very, not only very cool, but very important. And that ended up, changing and tweaking along the way, and I ended up taking a lot of other different roles, whether it was in sports, whether it was leading different groups in school, to even getting to that point where I started leading my own company, my own organizations. And how cool is that? Because somebody believed in you, because I believed in myself back then, and I was willing to try. I was willing to fail. I was willing to try new things, and just go with it. And so, where are you at today? Where are you at today, and what are the things that you're learning? I hope that you can learn from some of the things that I've learned. There's so much there. And these different scenarios and topics that I shared with you. Let's dissect that and let's go a little bit deeper. Yes, we can learn how to communicate, but what does that truly mean? What does it truly mean to be a good communicator? It means to connect, right? What does it mean to show up? Well, it means to be all in, and it means to actually be present. What does it mean to work on a team? It actually means to consider other people, to love on them, to serve them, to add value to them. What does it mean to learn new things? Well, to learn new things is not just head. It actually needs to hit your heart, and you need to actually apply it. What does this all mean? We need to become better at stopping and thinking and really going a little bit deeper. And so anyway, I wanted to bring that up to you because I think that it's made an impact on me. And as you know, I'm always in a posture of what have I learned? What am I learning? And what am I doing about it? And so it all matters. It all matters. And when we lead from that posture, it's incredible the doors of opportunities that are going to open up. And so especially when it comes to not only making yourself better, but making others better. Because when we do that, what do we say around here? It is a win-win when the leader leads well. And that's what I'm hoping that has taken place today. I'm hoping that we made you lead well, or we've helped you to lead better, so then we can continue to produce and create more impact. All right. Thanks for joining me. This has been fun. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a good one.